Welcome to Monster Monday. The first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to Matt Smith, who joined my Patreon at the first to die level. So I have tiers set up finally. I have a $1, a $5, a $10, a $25, and a $50. If you don't even want to do anything for my Patreon, of course that's fine, but I would hope you would at least go take a look at it, just because I put in some fun little names, titles for the tiers. I was just having fun with them, so I couldn't come up with any, and then I was like, oh, this will be a fun way to do it, so at least check out the names of it. So comments, or description below, you'll see that. So thank you, Matt Smith, for the love there. There's your shout out. I really do appreciate it. It's just so awesome that anyone would contribute to the channel at all. And I thank you for real. All right, so I have seen every Stephen King adaptation. I've said this many times, and I was never big on Cujo. It was something that I, in the past, have always kind of dogged out. Yeah, that wasn't a planned joke, but shit, man. I'm not sure I should have said it in the first place. But yeah, I went into this because I saw it was on Amazon Prime. I have it on VHS. I don't think I have the DVD. I might. That's a good question, actually. I'll have to look for it later. But I saw it was on Prime. I think Prime. And so I was like, oh, fuck it. Yeah, all right. I need a Monster Monday. I haven't seen this in forever. It's one I really want to like. It's a Stephen King, and it's a beloved movie. It's like a classic to people. So, yeah, I threw it on. And finally, after my second viewing, I don't think I've seen this more than 2 times now, I actually really liked it. One thing I said about it before was that, like, oh, it's just a movie about a woman and her kid trapped in a car for the whole fucking movie. Like, it gets boring. That's not true. That doesn't even happen till like an hour into the film, so I'm on some serious fucking drugs. I saw this movie, admittedly, like 20 plus years ago, so I was pretty damn young, but it just did not work for me. But I will tell you what instantly sold me on this movie that somehow I forgot from when I was a kid. Billy Jacoby. Buddy himself from Just One of the Guys is in this flick, so instantly makes it freaking cool as all hell. All right, so Cujo, let's talk about it. Now, we get, obviously spoilers, but we get Cujo here. He's running around, he's chasing this little freaking rabbit, and a little bat bites him on the nose, and that starts the rabies coursing through his veins. This is a sad ass movie because, yes, it is Monster Monday and Cujo does become a monster, but it is completely against his will. It's like a zombie. It's like a zombie dog film, essentially. That's what rabies kind of comes down to for animals. They just become ravenous killing machines. They just want to bite and chomp on everything, and it's sad because this is someone's family dog and he's so beloved in the household, and he goes and he fucking gets infected just, doing a normal dog thing. He's chasing a rabbit and he ends up getting bit, and he's, he tries to tough it out the best he can. And the saddest part of this movie to me is when Buddy, Billy Jacoby's character, the kid, his owners, he's out in the fog. It's a great shot, man. Realistic fog. I don't know if it really is fog, but it looks really cool. It's a good shot. He sees Cujo out there, and Cujo is like just on that cusp. The rabies has hit him just enough to where he's ready to pounce on anything. And this kid comes out and he's like, Cujo, it's me, because he starts growling at him. The dog, not the kid. And the kid has to kind of remind him, and you can see Cujo has just a little left of his brain, just a teeny bit left of what Cujo was, and he snaps out of it, but just enough to I I'm going to let you live. Like, he protects him by just walking away. And when he tries to yell after him, the kid's heartbreak of like losing his dog. And there's so many emotional things going on here. There's failed marriages, there's affairs, there's kids that lose their freaking dogs, that lose their parents, that lose... It's a fucking sad movie. When you really think of everything that's happening in this movie, as much as it's a horror flick, there's more depressing drama elements going on here that are just all over the place. And ultimately, this just becomes a family dog that can't help himself, so he attacks these people, and, you know, spoilers, as we said, he ends up getting killed for it. I mean, there's nothing left to do. Once the rabies set in like they are on him, there's nothing left to do but put him down, shoot him. He had to die. And it's a shame, man. It's just a sad-ass movie, but it is very well done. I will say that. And Dee Wallace, man, she was freaking good looking back in the day here. So, all right. I love that the kid does the hand shark. Da-dum. I do that all the time with my kids, and I've never seen it anywhere else to my memory. I probably stole it from this fucking movie. Hey, I saw it. I'm contradicting myself already. But I've always done that, and no one's ever found that funny. And I saw it in this movie, and I was like, hey, the hand shark under the table. How fantastic. So a lot of good setup here too. The plot and the setup is not like overly convoluted, but it makes sense. They set up this mechanic. It's a really solid setup because you've got the mechanic's family. Clearly he seems to be an abusive, cheating dickhead. She wants to get out of town. She tells, I'll get into all the setup, but I was actually very impressed by how Dee Wallace and her kid get to that house and why there's no one around. It's not just people drive out to the middle of nowhere and there's no one to help, like most movies would do. There's actually a really interesting, well thought out story here that sets up why they're alone. And I was really, really impressed by that in the movie. And that was what ultimately sold me on this movie more than anything, was all that setup of how they become trapped in this one area. It really is well done. So great stuff there. We got this kid who's afraid of monsters. I have not read this book. This is one of the Stephen King books that I have not read. So I would like to read it, but we got this kid, he's afraid of monsters. The dad's trying to convince him, hey, monsters ain't real. And it's like, well, we'll see what you think about this later, although the dad never really sees Cujo. He sees him when he's not infected, but he is infected technically at that point, but he hasn't turned yet. And then, yeah, so they got he's the brain, the dude on TV is his brainchild. The dye is in the food, and the kids are puking and pissing red, so all the parents are freaking out and taking the kids to the hospital. And so he has to go in and try to fix this issue. And it's sad. There's more sadness because this guy not only finds out that they're probably going to lose the biggest account they have, which is his livelihood. Essentially, he's losing like a good amount of his income and possibly even his job. If he loses that, I don't know if he owns the place or not. He might, but they might go under for it. So he might lose his everything. And then he fucking right after he finds that out, he goes and he sees that his wife is probably having an affair on him. And then, within a very short amount of time, she confirms. And I love that moment. There's great dramatic moments in this. And he just asks her. It's so subtle. It's so well done. He's like, yes or no? And she just kind of looks up. Yes. Great. It's not overly dramatic. It's not everyone yelling at each other. There's not a lot of, back and forth dialogue and this. No. It's just yes or no. Yes. Boom. Freaking 4 words. And you have this amazing moment. I love it. I have to say, the more I'm talking about the movie, the more I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass for not being a fan of this movie, because it really is kick-ass. Speaking of the kid in this movie, that's the Who's the Boss kid. I grew up on Who's the Boss. I was looking at him like, I know this motherfucker. Who's this kid? And then I'm looking, I'm thinking. I'm like, that's the Who's the Boss kid. And yeah, I mean, I think that people might watch this stuff and feel like the affair and this and that are shoehorned in. I'm sure in the novel it's much more fleshed out, so it wouldn't feel that way to certain people, but it didn't feel that way at all to me. I really thought they made it work well, because the affair ultimately leads to him wanting to leave and going to this thing and not really calling in, so he's gone. And then, the mechanic and his wife are at odds with each other. She's totally lying to him. She's running away. She wins the lottery. She's had it $5,000. I don't know if that's winning the lottery. That's like winning a scratcher. But technically a scratcher is the lottery. When I hear lottery, I won the lottery. It's like, well, how many millions of dollars did you get? And it's like $5,000. I love his response. She's like, I won the lottery. It's $5,000. He's like, when do we get it? She's like, oh, maybe a couple weeks. And he's like, thanks. Nothing. He's a total piece of shit. Hilarious, man. I was laughing. I was like, this guy is awful. But yeah, she gets like $2,500. I'm guessing she's giving him half. And this piece of shit has his wife wins the lottery. He doesn't even acknowledge it really almost at all, except for this like half-assed thanks. And then what does he do? He goes over to his buddy's house and he's like, I want to spend this money on booze and whores. And we're getting out of town. I'm going to take the money that my wife won in the lottery without even showing her amount of freaking, thanks or anything, appreciation. And then I'm going to take that money and I'm going to go fucking cheat on her with it, whilst also treating her like shit. He's clearly not a good guy. The kid's afraid of him. The wife is like asking his permission. Like, I was thinking maybe, I could get away for the weekend. It's like, get the fuck out of here. If you're in a relationship where you're like afraid to ask your partner if you can go see your sister or something for a couple days, get the fuck out of that relationship. What are you doing? Two adults complement each other and they make each other stronger. Okay, people? Yeah, well, I see so many fucking broken relationships, and this is just a dreadful one. I have to ask your permission. Get the fuck out of here. Now, there's a scene in this, and this might be an inside thing. I'm not sure. So the dad, we're going to say the main dad here and the kid, he goes to pick up his kid, and it's at like a park. And he's like, are you enjoying summer camp? And the kid's like, no, or yeah. I can't remember what the kid says, no or yes. Did I write that down? No, I can't remember. I think no. Doesn't matter. But he's like, all right, well, let's get out of here. And so he picks the kid up and they just leave. The mom's at home. She's, this is where he catches her with the dude in the house and everything. He doesn't catch them actually doing anything, but he's in the house and he already suspected. So this is why he asks. But when he picks the kid up, that's a really weird scene. Because, okay, let's say it's not actually summer camp. He calls it summer camp, but maybe that's like an inside thing with them. Maybe that's what they call it, after school hours. I don't know. But regardless of whatever it is, if it really is summer camp, it's even weirder to me. But let's say it's not summer camp. Let's just say he's after hours, school, whatever. He doesn't let anybody know that he's taken that kid. That's fucking crazy. Somebody had to be watching him. This kid's like 6. This kid is the age of my children. If my kids are left anywhere, school, they're not going to school, I homeschool them, but if they were, or if they were with whoever, my parents, whatever, people that I trust and people that know, aren't being paid to do this, whatever, you always going to go over to the people, or at least acknowledge like, hey, I picked him up, here you go. You never see anybody watching him. I know that this is 1982, the year I was born. I think it's 82, right? 82? Yeah, 82. It was just weird. It was such a weird sequence. It was like, at first he says it's summer camp, which it's just a fucking park, so I don't know, this is a weird summer camp. But then he just takes the kid and doesn't let anybody know who the fuck was watching this kid And if they were watching him, they clearly weren't doing a very good job. And the fact that he wouldn't tell them that he was taking the kid is crazy. Yes, I know this is a parent moment, so I'm probably a little more on this scene than most people would be, especially if they don't have kids, but get the fuck out of here. I'm a lot of get the fuck out of here's tonight, but this is, you know, these kinds of movies. Oh, every movie, especially the older movies, just get the fuck out of here. All right. And yeah, so the friend comes in the house. He's trying to get her back. Like, what the fuck, dude? And here's another get the fuck out of here. I'm not saying this isn't realistic. This does happen, but it's like, dude, what the hell? Like, he comes in to his friend's house to try to get his wife to come back to the affair that they were having after she blew it off. Like, you shouldn't have been having it at all. But if she says it's enough's enough, then it's like, all right, that's my buddy, this is my friend, like, what the fuck am I doing? She's right, we shouldn't be doing this. No, clearly he doesn't give a shit about this person. He just wants the girl. I don't know enough about their marriage. I mean, fuck, what do I know? He might be beating her off screen and a total drunk loser for all I know, and she's like getting away with the friend and then feels bad because it's her husband. I don't know. I doubt it. It doesn't seem to come off that way in the slightest. But still, like, he should be respecting her wishes. Clearly, if he's fucking his friend's wife, he's not the greatest of them guys anyway. But it was just like, really, dude, you're going to come into her house and like forcibly push yourself on her, and she's saying no, and then when she like kind of kicks back at him, he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I told you I don't want this anymore. You come over here, you're pushy. I keep saying no as you're trying to kiss on me in my own house where we're gonna get caught because the kid's supposed to be home soon, although he did bring him home from summer camp. But that wouldn't make any sense because the mom doesn't seem to be all that miffed that he's home. Like, she should be like, isn't he supposed to be at summer camp? Why are you so home so early? Although she is being kind of caught in an affair, so it's not really the place for her to talk in that moment about much of anything. She only gives a yes. That's about all she says there. And then tells her kid to go outside and play. But she doesn't really have much of dialogue there, but I don't blame her. She's like deer in the headlights caught. I already mentioned the fog scene. Great stuff. The snap out. So sad. And then, yeah, another moment right there. Like, the kid wants to tell the dad about how he saw Cujo out there and he was injured and this and that. And the mom, because she doesn't want any focus on them, she doesn't want to be delayed anything because she's packing shit that she's clearly running out on this douchebag. She's like, no, like, don't worry about it. Like, your dad will find him. Like, it makes sense. It's not just a moment where it's like, well, after he saw that, why wouldn't the kid bring this to anyone's attention? He does, and his mother, who he would implicitly listen to, is like, look, your dad will find it. It'll be okay. We can call him when we get there. Whatever. She wants out. She does not want one more second in that house. She can't get delayed. What if he finds out? What if he, whatever. She needs to get out. She's clearly in an abusive relationship. It makes sense. So good stuff there as well. First kill, man, is brutal. This freaking friend of his that he was going to go on the town with, do some high stepping. That's the first kill, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he says, he's like, I don't give a shit. He lied. He gave a shit while he was everybody gives a shit when they're being eaten by a fucking wild animal. This movie did for Jaws this movie was what Jaws was to sharks, is what freaking animals were to house pets. I don't know how the fuck I said that all messed up like that, but this movie, well, fuck it. Screw the analogies of Jaws and this and that. I will just say this because I think that was all super confusing. I don't know if you guys got what I was saying there, but here's what I meant. This movie made people go home and look at their house pet like, I'm on to you, little motherfucker. Like, I'm putting you down tonight. Especially if it's like a big dog. If somebody has like a fucking Saint Bernard especially. Oh my God. You go home to that, you're like, I'm not going home. Can I spend the night at your house? I don't care if he starves to death. He's not fucking, he's not going to live by eating me. Okay? So if he starves to death. I just wonder. I wonder how many people had, Saint Bernards at home and were like, not going home tonight. Fuck him. Fuck him. Probably let him starve to death, man. Fucking terrible. But yeah, I don't know. The Jaws analogy went all sorts of wacky there. I don't know what I was trying to say. This did for Jaws what Household Pets. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But you guys get what I'm saying now. All right. And yeah, I mean, I think that like when he attacks the dad, you know, the owner of him, I think that's just kind of like really letting the audience know like Cujo is past the point of no return. Like once he's killing his owner, you know that means that no one is safe. And I thought that was a great moment because, I mean, that guy, you wanted him to die. And really, the only people in this movie that die are people that are totally not great people. You're just kind of like, what? Oh, that's not true. You get the sheriff. Pretty sure he dies. He was probably a good guy. But the first two kills, you're just like, fuck these guys. So, good. Bye. Good riddance. And yeah, the car breaks down just as they pull up. Great setup. They foreshadow it throughout the film. The car's having problems. They had the mechanic. He tried to go to him. The guy was being a dick. The post office guy, who ends up being mentioned later because he's bringing him the bumper. But the guy was like, I'm going out on the town with my friend in the city, so hold all my mail. So that's a great setup because she's like, we'll wait for the mailman. The mailman never comes because they think they're going to be out of town. See what I'm saying? There's lots of great setup and there's lots of great reasons for why no one is coming out there. There's a great reason why she's there. The guy's a dick. The post guy's like, hey, check out this guy out in town. Like, this guy, don't piss off the mailman. He'll fuck your business up, man. He'll tell people to go elsewhere. He goes to everybody's house. All right? He'll be delivering you bankruptcy fucking papers. Yeah, shit. And man, Cujo looks fucking messed up in this movie. They just drenched this dog. They just took like slime and goop and dirt and they just took this dog and they like fucking, dipped him in it like the fucking a vat of garbage. It's just this dog, man. This poor dog on this movie. He was dirty and had grime and mucus and all this shit coming out of his face, and then they made him like aggressively attack things. This poor dog on this movie. I hope he was, well compensated. I don't know financially, but you know what I mean. Gave him a bunch of fucking milk bones or something. Made his life good after this movie because he went through some shit. And yeah, I'm gonna get this. The phone ringing inside drives him absolutely nuts. When he barrels into that car, I mean, those dogs are enormous, and they're like 200 pounds. When he hits the door and he's coming and he's attacking the car, that shit's scary. I must have missed it. I'm not really sure what was going on with the kid. Like, did he have some issue? I don't know. Was that just dehydration? He's not epileptic or anything, right? I must have missed why, but I think it was just he was seizuring because of the heat, right? Heat stroke. They were in the car. They were trying to roll the windows down. It was so hot. Maybe I just missed the dialogue there, but I think that's it. It is heat stroke. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw him doing it. Good acting on the kid. It was freaking me the fuck out. He's like seizuring. It looked gnarly, man. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to ever see my kid do that. I will say this too. Dee Wallace is great in this movie. When she's coming, she's screaming in the car, really good, terrifying screams. And when she gets out of the car and she's being aggressive and she has that bat and she's going to town with him and they're fighting, they're jumping around. I'm not sure she could push him off, but hey, I mean, when a woman's, protecting the kid, she can supposedly lift a fucking car. So I just was like, oh my God, man, those fight sequences between them, great stuff. Just, yeah, brutal. And she was bit, so she needs some medical attention real quick. I was looking up like how long you have and is it reversible and all this stuff. Once you show signs of rabies, you're dead. Like, I was reading about that. I was like, oh man, this is fucked up. But yeah, doesn't really happen in America, but in other countries, like 95% of the rabies incidences are in like 2 countries. So rabies aren't really much of a thing here, but yeah, if you ever get bit by an animal, make sure you go get tested and treated, whatever, because once symptoms appear, and they can appear up to like years later, supposedly. I was reading about it. It's gnarly stuff. I was like, fuck, man. But yeah, once you symptoms start, you're fucked. You die. Like, it's like 99% of the time, something insane like that. Once symptoms appear of rabies in a human, they die. It's so like, yeah, it's no joke. I was like, oh wow, I had to look into it. And then yeah, she breaks the bat off. He jumps on her. She stabs him. Then they go in the house. She gets the gun and boom, blows his fucking dog away. I'm glad they didn't show it. I mean, usually I want to see the gore, and for a monster, you want to see the death and all this, but it's such a sad thing. It's not Cujo's fault. Cujo's a good dog. He's a good freaking, pet. He's not a monster. I mean, I can almost feel bad doing this for Monster Monday because he's not a monster, but he does become a monster. So I think it fits. It's just such a sad fucking movie. So many emotions throughout the flick. Even Cujo jumps through the freaking window, Friday the 13th, part 2, Jason style at the end of this. Great stuff, but it's not a dream sequence or whatever anyone interprets that as in Friday 2. And then the freaking, the husband shows up late, so he didn't even need to do anything. He didn't even need to come home. It's like, hey, I'm here. And it's like, fuck off. I don't need you. I can go grab the keys from the sheriff, get in his car and drive back to town. I'd be fine. You didn't even need to come back. So it's funny. And then this movie does what a lot of movies, I talk about that we would never see today. The movie just ends. It just fucking ends. He gets there, they get into like an embrace, and it like freeze frames and then cue the lame music and credits. It's so funny. You would never get away with that today. Now there has to be all this like talking and everything, which is fine. I actually prefer nowadays a little more in that way. But it is funny watching these older movies where it's like once the monster's dead, credits. Like, that's it, man. Movie's fucking over, right? Like, the monster's dead. There's no more to do here. So I can see people being like, no, this is the preferred thing. I'd rather just credits, right? Like, as soon as she pulls the trigger, just credits. That'd be kind of funny. It'd actually be fitting. You'd be like, well, what the hell was with the husband? Why did they even put that in there? But you do see it, and you're like, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. So, fun movie. Glad I watched it. Billy Jacoby. Oh. Just one of the guys. Any chance I get to talk about that movie? Hey, look, my thing didn't cut out, Becca. It's not a curse. You freaking superstitious asshole. All right, guys. Adios. Thanks, Matt Smith, seriously, for the Patreon thing. I really do appreciate it. Anyone who does it, I appreciate it. Check out the tiers. I got all sorts of freaking incentives for you to check out. You can request movies, you can request Slasher Sundays, you can request an entire series, you can get a shirt, all sorts of stuff. So go check it out. Thank you for everything, guys. Even if you don't support the Patreon, you don't give me shit. Just, watch the videos, share some comments, don't be a fucking dick. Adios.